Hey, and I forgot to turn the thing on again. Welcome to
No!
Outlaws.
Welcome to Outlaws. I'm Rebecca Hargraves.
And I am Devon Stack.
Oh, I forgot to tweet this out. Do a little
Well,
thingamabob. Do a
I'll
little
do
intro
a thing.
thingamajoo.
So the other day, I was talking to some guy about, subversive Jews, as I often do, and he was like, have you heard of this Samuel Roth guy? And I was like, Samuel who? I mean, the Roth, that obviously a Jew name there. I can't imagine what he's responsible for. And he was like, ho, 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 a lot, a lot. And I was
That's
like, well,
it? That's
what do
what
you,
you've got, Devin?
that's what I got. What?
God.
I can't spin your shit into gold. I'm not Rumple fucking Stillskin over here. All right?
Do your best here, okay? I'm a slow tweeter. Before we went live, we were just, complaining about our lives and stuff. And Devin and I tried to have several calls today, and it's just like my kids fucking screaming in the background. And then Devin hasn't slept for 2 days. We're like, all right, we're doing it live.
Yeah.
We're doing it live.
Yeah,
We are talking about Samuel Roth, probably Rothstein at some point.
Yeah.
Who knows? This guy was the Jewiest Jew that ever Jewed. Every episode, I'm like, I don't think it's possible that I could hate Jews more. And then we find a way that he just embodies everything that is wrong with being Jewish.
It's true.
He's the worst person.
It is true. Like every time you think that, like, oh wow, this guy, he's raised the bar or lowered, depending on how you look at it. The Jews, and then the next week you're like, what? How'd this guy? It's not just like he inched over the line. He blew out of the fucking stadium. Like he's like
shamelessly too. He was just shameless. He was such a bastard. And where did he come from, Devin?
Well, it turns out he came from Eastern Europe, from around the turn of the century. In fact, what is now currently Ukraine. So his
name was Meshulam.
Meshulam.
Hebrew name, Meshulam.
Yeah. Meshulam Roth.
Yep. And then, of course, they emigrated to the Lower East Side when he was 4, his Jewy family. And he immediately starts hustling. So by 16, he's working for the New York Globe, and he's a Lower East Side correspondent. The paper went out of business. He became homeless. And then he got a scholarship at Columbia University. March through the institutions, Columbia University. I mean, he Jewed it up really hard.
Well, according to him, too, he got in just by writing, like, some poems and sending them in. Like, he didn't have any kind of, like, he didn't have, like, a formal education that or like some test scores or like that. I'm guessing that just by virtue of his last name being Roth, that probably helped out quite a bit. But he said he wrote some like amateurish poems and that got him in.
Well, he was renowned in the literary community. Apparently, his poetry was good. He was colleagues with Ezra Pound, who recognized his poetry. That relationship turns to shit. We'll talk about it in a moment. Do you know how he funded his first semi-pornographic magazine? I was hoping you didn't read this in the outline because this is also incredibly Jewy. Okay. So he did it by bringing in other Jews and opening to New York City and opening an English speaking class for people that spoke Hebrew. And then he used that money to fund his first literary magazine, which was really just a men's magazine, but it was like raunchier than Esquire. And it had like, what was acceptable legally kind of at the time, like nudie stuff. And then he violated some copyright laws by publishing segments of James Joyce Ulysses with all of the expurgated installments. So Ulysses was published and some of it was too racy for American audiences. So that was removed. And he was just like, well, I'm going to publish this anyway. And so he did. And James Joyce was super pissed. He won an injunction to stop him from printing all of these installments with his publisher. And then they got all of the writers together, all of the authors, to straight up protest him and kick him out of the literary community. There were 167 authors. And then he became a total pariah. Total pariah.
And he made porn.
He didn't really make porn, but he circulated porn.
He loved porn.
Yeah. He did love porn. It's hypothesized that he was a bisexual, but I was reading about it, and there's like his biographers think probably yes, he was married and had kids. But yeah, I mean, James Joyce was able to get some money back because of this was just piracy at this point. I mean, he didn't worry about the law. He didn't worry about what was going to happen.
They never do they? I mean, it's like that's why Hollywood exists, because they were stealing patents and technology and scripts from Edison. So they were just like, yeah, fuck the goy. We'll just go to this desert out in California. That's far enough away. And away they went.
Can you pull up this New York Times article from 1927? I'll just read a little excerpt. A bunch of authors are among those who have added their names to the protest, which has been organized by friends of James Joyce here, against the action of Samuel Roth in publishing in his magazine an expurgated version of Ulysses without the author's permission, without paying for reproduction rights. Mr. Joyce said today that the first news he received that the republication was intended in America was through an advertisement. He had never even been asked to give his authorization, nor has he received a cent of payment. James Joyce said, it's a simple case of piracy. Roth seems to think that because the book, as published in Paris, is banned in the United States mails, I cannot take legal action there to recover damages, but I'm assured that I can. I'm bringing suit. And he did it to several authors. He did it to Paul Morand and reprinted a bunch of authors without authorization, without payment, without even contacting them.
What a guy.
What a guy. I think this Ezra Pound, I found this really interesting because Ezra Pound is a famous literary anti-Semite, but he was not always this way. Samuel Roth basically turned Ezra Pound into an anti-Semite. Now, if you look online about regarding the relationship, it'll talk about how they were friends and colleagues, but Ezra Pound, although he initially did have some admiration for Roth, hated his guts after the James Joyce affair. So he condemned Roth harshly as a bloody crook, a pirate, and a thief when the project went beyond agreed terms after the international protest, which was signed by all of these writers. So basically, he used Ezra Pound as his like goy pay pig because he had this connection to James Joyce. So Roth said that when Ezra Pound, whose brain is not without points of interest, announced that this was the only living writer in whose works the element of creativeness was present, James Joyce, I immediately sought out his work. And when the project Two Worlds, that's his magazine, rose in my mind, I wrote to the aforementioned Ezra Pound asking him to become a contributing editor and to supply me with the work of the most promising European writers, especially James Joyce. To this, Pound replied promptly, accepting my offer. So he basically is saying, I developed this relationship with Ezra Pound on good terms so that he would deliver to me James Joyce so that I could pirate his material illegally, profit off of it, and then not pay a cent to him.
So this guy was he was sued, right? Like at some point, did they take him to court? Because wasn't his big complaint? Oh,
I made a mistake. I meant to say Yiddish, not Hebrew. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Listen, it's been a rough day. Okay, everybody in the live chat. I'm retarded.
Well, because
he got brought to court, but I don't think he was imprisoned for this.
Because I found
this time.
Okay. Do you know what he was imprisoned for? Because I got obviously this picture here.
Yes, it was. It was for the pornographic content following the 1957 case.
Oh, okay.
He was in jail for like 7 to 9 years.
Oh, sweet.
So there's that. Anyway, before we talk about how he was a self-hating Jew, how did he become this way? He ended up writing this book, Jews Must Live, which Devon is going to spurg out on in a second. But it was centered on his bankruptcy case of 1933 because the other Jews, his Jewish colleagues that were basically doing the same thing that he perceived that they had screwed him. He makes a career screwing other people. And then he's like, I hate Jews now because they said that, he said that they screwed him. So he had a publishing operation, and he was selling expurgated erotica like Ulysses, reprints, exposés. He wrote something on Herbert Hoover. And then he had legal troubles. There were raids. He had debts that led to his bankruptcy proceeding. Now, his Jewish publishers and associates, they were doing the same shady, illicit book trade. They conspired to sabotage his bankruptcy. They interfered with the legal process and the paperwork and made it very difficult for him to file for bankruptcy. And then he claims that they stole or undermined his copyrights, his non-existent copyrights, and took control of titles, plates, and customer lists. But it doesn't matter because that's what he was doing. So that apparently left him disillusioned. Now, if you read about Samuel Roth, it'll say that he was forced to write The Jews Must Live because he was left in such a bad way financially. But really, it was his own doing. Like, he knew that he was a crook. So why would he work with all of these Jews and not expect them to be crooks as well? And then he wrote about being a self-hating Jew, what Jews do, how they behave in Jews Must Live. And it is a window into the soul of the Jew. It truly is.
It's simultaneously very self-aware while at the same time not self-aware at all. It's really weird. And in fact, it follows he wrote 2 books prior to that that were very pro-Jewish, but apparently too honest, because I read the Jews Must Live book, and in that he talks about the previous 2 works briefly, and he says that rabbis were actually angry with him with the second one. Well, not angry, but like a little, they didn't like how this is him. He said they didn't like how honest he was being in the second one because it might fuel anti-Semitism. Did
you know the Nazis used it famously for propaganda?
This third book, The Jews Must Live, or the second one?
Jews Must Live.
Oh, okay, no, yeah. Well, Jews Must Live, I can understand why. Because he hits the nail directly on the head. And it's also it's hard for me to imagine that he just got a bad taste in his mouth because of how he saw that he was done dirty by his fellow Jews, given the depth at which he goes through in his work, because he doesn't just say and he mentions how or actually, would you let me just go right into it, or
go into it? Yeah.
So basically, he talks about how he's having dinner, and I'm going to play a clip here from the actual text. But he talks about how he's having dinner with some literary friends of his, and how they're anti-Semites. And he said that it was actually quite common in New York because of all the Jews that had moved in. And this is around 1930 something. There's a lot of anti-Semites. If you're a Gentile, you're essentially an anti-Semite if you live in New York, because you're having to deal with all these fucking Jews. And but these particular anti-Semites liked him, and they liked his family. And so because they were intellectuals, they would talk about it, and there was no hard feelings. And he basically describes a conversation he's having with these literary socialites, and how they basically Jew-pilled him. Because the news about what's going on with Hitler in Germany is starting to come to America, and all the Jews are freaking out, and they want to have like a general boycott of Germany. And he brings it up to them, or rather they bring it up to him. So it's this couple that they basically say, like, look, you and your wife, you're wonderful, but I mean, come on, Jews, really? And so this is him talking about that conversation with them.
I have heard you talk of your princely Jewish blood, continued Mrs. Harlan. You may have something of a mystic strain in you yourself, but look at the Jews you associate with. We ate and drank with them at your table. We have been meeting them in your house during the past year. Didn't they continue to come here days after they had secretly sold you out? Are we to accept them as specimens of your princes of the Jews' blood? In the course of our own lives, my husband and I have met many Jews, for how is one to avoid them in New York? But even knowing Jews as genuine as you and your wife has not helped to modify our impression that Jews are a nation of leeches crowding the sensitive arteries of mankind. Take what is happening in Germany. Blind race hatred? I interrupted. Conducted by 85 million people? Do you believe a whole civilized nation would stand aside, witness what Hitler is doing to the Jews without a protest, unless there were real abuses on the part of the Jews which justified what is happening? The Harlans smiled and tactfully changed the subject of the conversation. I don't think they had the faintest notion of what they had accomplished, for they had opened in me the locked gate of an emotion that must have been pounding away at my heart for a long time. It dawned on me suddenly, blindingly, that all the evils of my life had been perpetrated by Jews.
So there you go. It was kind of funny because he basically, said like, well, all this the blind racial hatred that's going on in Germany, and she's like, well, you really think that the Germans would just let Hitler do what he's doing if it was just some irrational anger at the Jews? And he was like, wait a second, everyone that's fucked me over has been a Jew. What's going on here? So the first chapter, he goes into, he goes all the way back. He goes all the way back to Abraham and talks about how, if you think about it, that even Abraham is kind of like a scheming Jew, telling everyone that his wife is actually his sister and trying to trick the Canaanites, and how like the Jews are always just being sneaky and underhanded with everybody so they can take over their land. And he goes really at the heart of the Jewish identity. Later he goes and he has different chapters for the title, by the way, Jews Must Live, is based on the idea that Jews don't care what they do. The only imperative for a Jew is that they must live. They must continue. They must as a race continue. So then he talks about how anti-Semitism, despite all this talk about how the Goys have developed, it's really the same talking points you hear today, that, it's this disease that the Goys have and they're jealous of us or whatever, that he talks about it. He's like, no, it's actually not that mysterious. Like, the reason why they hate us is we're like an enemy. Like, we are dangerous to them. And so it's like a reflex. It's a natural response to the danger we pose to them. And so this is a clip of him discussing that.
I know how well the Jews have earned the hatred which is in my heart towards them. I do not doubt that they have earned in equally good measure the hatred which the nations entertain towards them, since records of such international courtesies have been made. Anti-Semitism is the natural effect of a social cause. I cannot understand why such a deep mystery is made of this simple cause. The causes of anti-Semitism lie in the very deepest recesses of human nature. They are like pebbles at the bottom of a very deep stream. But the waters of the stream are clear, and I have no difficulty making them out. The first cause of Jew hatred goes back to the nature of Jewish leadership, a black veil on the conscience of the race. The second goes back to the nature of the people itself, and it is an evil no less foul.
So...
He's like, you people are stupid. Like, you don't understand why everyone hates Jews. It's obvious.
It's us. We're bad. We're the baddies, actually. So he talks about that at length, about how the leadership of the Jewish, world Jewry is often exploiting the countries, the Goy, that allow them into their nations, that they treat all other races as inferior. He talks about how their major vice, the major vice of the Jew, is parasitism. That they're, as a race, they are parasites. And so here's his quote on that.
Beginning with the Lord God of Israel himself, it was the successive leaders of Israel who one by one foregathered and guided the tragic career of the Jews. Tragic to the Jews and no less tragic to the neighboring nations who have suffered them. But we must have been a pretty horrible people to start with. Our major vice of old as of today is parasitism. We are a people of vultures living on the labor and the good nature of the rest of the world.
So obviously...
Wow, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
And it gets into more detail. He talks about how, really, they don't have the same moral code that the Gentiles have. And so because of this, they are able to take advantage of the Gentiles. And again, the only thing that drives them is their existence.
The first of all Jewish creeds is that Jews must live. It does not matter how, by what, or to what end. Jews must live. And so a return was made to the ancient policy of conquest by the more peaceful and delicate methods of cheating, lying, and pimping.
So he talks about that's how Jews are existing today in the West, is by exploiting the law, exploiting the vices of the Gentile. And in fact, he tells stories about how when his family was in what is now Ukraine, how they took advantage of the Gentiles there. He talks about how one Jewish family actually owned the church because they got in a situation where the Christian church mortgaged their church to the Jews. And so the Jews put a big iron fence around their church and wouldn't let them into church on Sundays until they paid one of the wives of the Jews that went down to collect the money to unlock the church for them. Yeah, and he said that what amazed him most was even though this Jewish wife that would go down there was cross-eyed and couldn't count past 10, that when she got home with the money was always the right amount, that the Christians were honest enough to pay the right amount of money to let them in the church, which astounded him because a Jew would never have done that. And then he talked about how when they sold pigs, they would sell pigs to the Gentiles that were sick and like the ones they would have gotten rid of anyway for more than what you should pay for a good, healthy pig. And just, really talks about how, this parasitic relationship existed before the pogroms, and then obviously that which led to the pogroms, which drove them out to the other countries. He also talks about how England, Edward I, kicked out the Jews because even though he was getting a better deal in terms of borrowing money from Jews versus what he would be paying for interest borrowing from the Italians, that the general public was so pissed off at the presence of the Jews that even though he's king, a king knows that at a certain point people will overthrow him if they get pissed off enough. And so he ends up expelling the Jews because it becomes that much of a problem.
England, among the first European countries to be adopted by Jews as their homeland, expelled them bodily and precipitously in the year 1290. King Edward made a great sacrifice when he did that, because the Jews loaned him money at much easier interest than was demanded by the Italian bankers from Lombardy. But that was the way of the Jews. They asked almost nothing for their money from the King of England, so that when the rest of the people complained to him of their heartlessness, he would have reason to keep his ears closed to their crying. But there is just so much of the protesting of even the most slavish populace that a king can ignore with safety. King Edward knew that, and when he realized that the patience of England was at an end, he signed the famous edict. So grateful to him for that edict was the population of Britain that even the peasants, whom the Jews had never trusted with money, contributed to a popular subscription of money presented to their king, which made it unnecessary for him to ever borrow money again. King Edward, booting some 14,000 Jews across the English Channel, set a fashion that was quickly followed by Italy, Spain, Portugal, France, and Germany. The tide of immigration now turned eastward into Poland, Russia, and the other Slavonic nations. But as sure as it had followed them everywhere else, Jew hatred developed in Poland and in Russia. We have witnessed during the latter part of the 19th century and during the early years of the 20th a revival in the East of the virulent anti-Semitism of the West. The hellish tortures of the Inquisition were rivaled by the pogrom and the boycott. France, which dismissed the Jews in the 13th century and readmitted them in the 15th, burst into the epic of the Dreyfus case just when Russia was multiplying pogroms. Germany, which had never taken decisive action against the Jews, has broken into such anti-Semitic activity that she may destroy herself in the agony of it. I cannot emphasize the matter too strongly. Anti-Semitism is not, as Jews have tried to make the world believe, an active prejudice. It is a deeply hidden instinct with which every man is born. He remains unconscious of it, as of all other instincts of self-preservation, until something happens to awaken it. Just as when something flies in the direction of your eyes, the eyelids close instantly and of their own accord. So swiftly and surely is the instinct of anti-Semitism awakened in man. If it were true, as the Jews claim, that the Gentiles lay violent hands on them purely out of prejudice against their religion, out of envy of their superior commercial genius, how would the Jews ever get into a civilized country to begin with? Have not Jews been admitted from time immemorial, freely, kindly, almost happily, by every nation at whose gate they have knocked for admittance? The story of the Jews, as they have themselves written it out, has always gone out ahead of them, to spread through the foreign peoples and evoke in their minds curiosity and pity. Have the Jews ever had to petition a country for admission, the first time? Read for yourself the story of the progress of Jewry through Europe and America. Wherever they come, they are welcomed, permitted to settle down, and join in the general business of the community. But one by one, the industries of the country close to them because of unfair practices, until, it being impossible to longer hold in check the wrath of a betrayed people, there is violence and, inevitably, an ignominious ejection of the whole race from the land.
Yes, that is exactly right. Exactly right.
So
It
he
is
has
an instinct, isn't it?
Well, it's funny because, like, again, he talks about this behavior of the Jews and how it always leads to their expulsion, despite the fact that they're always welcomed in. And if it was some like mysterious thing that, it just white people hate Jews for no reason, they wouldn't let them in the first place. But they always let them in, and it's only with experience that they grow to dislike them and kick them out. Until it's been long enough for them to forget about it again, and then the whole process starts over again. But it's funny because he talks like this as if he doesn't realize the role that he himself is also playing in this process, which we'll get more into. Well, remember, he wrote this in the 1930s, and so this is before, like, I guess, a lot of his precedent-setting pornographic activities, which we'll get to in a minute. But like he did the same thing. He's this Eastern European Jew that was welcomed into the country that didn't have to worry about obscenity laws and pornography and all this stuff because there weren't Jews there to be, fucking doing it. He shows up and he starts to do it, creates all these problems and winds up in jail because of it and leaves a fucking scar on American culture for the rest of, until we inevitably kick them all out again, I guess.
That's true. I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute, but the pornography laws were not tested in the way that they were until 1957, and that was because of Jews. I mean, we made it a long time without serious, hardcore pornography kind of hitting the streets.
Right, because we didn't have to worry about it because we didn't have Jews here to fuck it all up. And so he doesn't, it's like he understands and yet at the same time doesn't understand. And in fact, when he's talking about the history of it and talking about, England kicking the Jews out and all these other European countries, I didn't clip this part out, but he mentions in passing that what's because this is, you got to remember the context, this is in the 1930s that he wrote this. He mentions in passing, like, well, what's going on in Germany right now, that's not part of this either. Like the Germans are just overreacting. It's like, no, like Weimar Germany, it's like exactly what you're talking about. It's the same exact process that you're describing, where the Jews went into Germany, they created all these insufferable conditions, whether it comes, whether you're talking about economics or the culture, and that is what the people are responding to. That is what is creating the environment that is setting the stage for a Hitler to rise up. And so it's kind of weird that, like, he seems to really get it, but also not get it at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Especially the fact that he said that it's like a natural reaction, that like someone throws a rock at your head and you blink because you don't want it to hit you in the face. That's what anti-Semitism is. It's a natural reaction to a threat, is what he's saying.
I don't know if that's true, because doesn't that run contrary to us letting them in the first place?
Well, you let the rock in. You don't think someone's going to throw it at your face yet. I guess that's what it is. Like it's the rock's not a threat until the Jew picks it up and throws it at your face.
Yeah.
And so, but that's what he's talking about. There is just like this cycle of them getting booted out and welcomed in, booted out, welcome in, and obviously he says that he wants to underscore the fact that. Despite that, this idea that it's some kind of prejudice, it's not judging, it's judging what they're actually doing. So then he goes on and talks about, or expands a little bit more on this, or rather talks. This is funny. This is an illustration from the book. That's Uncle Sam versus Uncle Moses. That's because that's how he phrases it. He says that Uncle Sam is growing tired of Uncle Moses in the other corner there.
Even in America, the most patient of the Western nations, things are coming to a head. It is no secret that the immigration restriction laws passed a generation ago were leveled chiefly against the Jews. Industry after industry has taken steps to exclude Jews as employees. The civil population is chafing under the abuses of Jewish doctors and Jewish lawyers. There is blood in the eye of Uncle Sam as he looks across the ringside at the pudgy, smiling Uncle Moses. It has become the reasoning of every king and congress of every country invaded by the Jewish people. It has never changed because the nature of the Jews has undergone no reasonable change. We are still the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We come to the nations pretending to escape persecution. We, the most deadly persecutors in all the wretched annals of man.
So again, and this is very relevant today. You know, you look at Israel talking about how they're endlessly persecuted as they commit genocide on Gaza. You know, it's the same kind of a thing. And so
what an incredible admission.
Right. No, and the whole book is full of stuff like this. I just clipped out some of the more direct time because he makes really good arguments, well thought out arguments in terms of like how all this works out. In fact, we're going to play an example here in a moment. But yeah, he totally seems to he understands the survival strategy of the Jews. So one thing he brings up is there's a term that means always take. There's a whole chapter on this, and it's leolam tekak. Leolam tekak. And a lot of people have heard of Tikkun Olam. This is another, Tikkun Olam is to heal the world, where Jews feel this urging to always change the world around them to resemble what they want. And Leolam tekak is to always be taking from the goy, but even from your fellow Jews, because one of the examples he opens up with is he talks about how you talked about the plagiarism and stuff. Well, while he was writing a piece, he was destitute at the time, and he hadn't eaten in 2 days, and he went to a publisher and said, look, if you just publish, I'll give you access to these chapters that I haven't published yet, and I just need a little bit of money to get by. And the Jewish publisher said, well, we'll just wait till you do publish it, and then we'll just publish it for free, and we'll just plagiarize you, and then I don't have to pay you any money, and in fact I'll be able to publish your whole book in our periodical, and there's nothing you can really do about it. And
was this guy Jewish?
Yeah, the publisher was Jewish, and he said, it's funny, the whole chapter he held out his gnarled Jewish claw, and I looked down at his Jewish claw and was like, and that's what I realized, the Leolam tekah. and so that's the story he talks about, is like this Jew didn't care that his fellow Jew needed some money to eat because he hadn't eaten in 2 days, because he would rather just always be taking. Oh. And so he talks about how this also this is also expressed, obviously, more so when it comes to dealings with the Gentiles. And so I mentioned the story about how they would lock up the church, and how they would sell them like the shitty hogs they didn't want anymore. And this is from that same era. He's talking about back when his parents owned an inn in what is now Ukraine. And Jewish travelers, he said when he was a little kid, he started to understand this concept of always be taking, especially from the goy, because when Jewish travelers would stop off at the inn, and Jews would be like, well, how's business? Like, that was one of the first things they'd ask you about. And they would be really excited if they could tell you a story about how they ripped off a goy. And if they couldn't tell you a story about how they ripped off a goy, then they would have some kind of sob story about how bad business was. But the only time they would talk about, even if they had money, the only time they would be excited and happy about and say and express that business was good is if they could tell you that they had ripped off a goy. So this is a quote from that part of the book.
My earliest knowledge of the Jewish attitude towards their Gentile neighbors came from listening at our inn to the stories of Jewish travelers who stopped with us for a drink or a night's lodging about their business dealings with the Goyim. To my innocent brain, it appeared that the whole purpose of a Jew in business was to get the best of the Goy. When the Goy had been cheated, business was good.
So, and that's basically that was standard. And he said the reason that Jews looked at the world this way is in their religion and the way that they're raised. The Goyim don't really. I mean, the world does, just like Israel belongs to the Jew, right? Because God promised it to him. Everything belongs to the Jew. And in fact, when their Moshiach comes, then everyone becomes their slaves and they own everything. And so they don't see it as,
they probably look upon us like we're insects or something.
Right. No, and he said that they don't look at it as stealing because it already belongs to them. They're just getting ahead of the game because they're going to get it anyway when the Moshiach comes. And so you're just borrowing it from them until the Moshiach gets here anyway. So if they steal it from you, it's rightfully theirs in the first place. So that's what he said. Like the reason why they have this worldview is because they just look at us as, it's kind of like if you went to settle some land and there were like animals there, you would displace them to build your house, right? Yeah. And they look at us the same way. We're just the only reason why we're allowed to have those resources is the Jews don't need them yet.
But what of the little Jews who are told that they are the salt of the earth, that what they see before them really belongs to them, and is only to be won away with the superior brain with which God has endowed his chosen ones? Each of them, when he grows up, becomes an agency of cunning to defeat the civil law. The Polish Jew does not remain in Poland. He migrates. Eventually, he finds himself a rich nest in England, in France, in Germany, in America, or in one of the South American countries. To each of the countries of his invasion, the Jew brings the whole bag of commercial tricks and statutory maneuvers with which he poisons the arteries of the civilized world.
Oh.
Yeah. So they go out just like you would go out and settle some land and displace whatever animals were, in the way to build your cabin or whatever. They go out into the world and they're, thanks for building this nice city called New York for us. We'll take it from here now. And
that is incredible. So they can't ever be assimilated into any culture. They're a separate part. They would never allow it.
Oh no! In fact, speaking of which, he then talks about how a lot of Jews will say, "Oh, it's a cultural issue," and it's funny because now he doesn't actually explicitly put it this way because obviously the technology, genetics and stuff didn't exist, but he is explicitly biological when it comes to his explanation. He says that a lot of people will blame culture, and that if you could just strip the Jew of its culture, then it wouldn't be a problem anymore. And he's like, no, actually the culture isn't what's causing this behavior. This behavior is what's causing the culture, because the culture is used as a smokescreen to disguise their racial imperative to behave in this way. And so this is the part of the book where he talks about how the Jews as a race, because he said, like, even the ones that aren't religious behave in this same way. And he points out the fact that they'll never assimilate because they have these Jewish schools or whatever, but that it's not that's not the cause. That's the effect. Because he'll say here in a second, you don't see like French people coming to America and sending their kids to French schools, even though they appreciate their French culture just as much as a Jew appreciates Jewish culture. That they don't need to use that smokescreen because they're going to behave like all the other goy.
Oh.
The cultural argument is the rankest sort of pretense. Do the thousands of French families in the United States compel their children to study French after school so as to preserve with them the inheritance of French culture? Or is there any reason to believe that the French think any less of their culture than the Jews think of theirs? How many German schools do the 15 million Germans in the United States maintain to help their children keep the inheritance of German culture? The preservation of Jewish religion and culture are merely excuses for something else, a smokescreen. What the Jew really wants and expects to achieve through the instrumentality of the Hebrew school is to cultivate in his son the sharp awareness that he is a Jew, and that as a racial Jew, apart from all the other races, he is waging an old war against his neighbors. The young Jew must learn to remember that before anything else he is a Jew, that before any other allegiance comes his allegiance to the Jewish people. He may be a good American if it is good business to be a good American. He may even pose as a good Chinaman. But no obligation he contracts with a non-Jew is to be considered valid if it violates the interests of this most important obligation of his. The first thing the young Jew learns is that he is a Jew. The second thing he learns is that being a Jew makes him different from the members of all the other peoples on the face of the earth. Sanctity, because of the ever-presence of the synagogue as a background, is inevitably part of his impression of his function as a Jew. If the family in the midst of which he is reared has shed all of its religious feathers, then a sense of superiority takes the place of the feeling of sanctity. The third thing he learns is that, as a member of a nation of priests, it is his business to make for himself a high place in the world, some position from which he will be able to compel the world to pay him tribute. Most desirable for the young Jew, he is told impressively, is it for him to become a member of one of the professions, to become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, even a salesman or an agent. To be compelled to go to work, to do manual labor for one's livelihood, is the very worst state the young Jew can fall to, something to make him really ashamed and humiliated. This attitude of the Jews towards manual labor is historic. The Jewish apologists have a neat explanation for it. In most of the countries of the diaspora, the Jews were not permitted to own land or to work on it, nor were they permitted to work for Christians. And since Jewish merchants could give employment only to a fraction of the great numbers of young Jews, the rest had to turn for careers to salesmanship, money lending, and the other promoting aspects of trade. This does not explain why Jews have never, like other peoples, gone into a wilderness and built up a land of their own.
Right. So, yeah, he talks about...
There's so much to unpack there. But first, hold on. That totally debunks the myth of the secular Jew before we get into the other stuff. I mean, that just doesn't exist because they retain the sense of superiority. I've never seen it or heard it laid so bare. Right.
No, and think about all the secular Jews, like the Alice Karps of the world, that's 100% true. That sanctity is replaced by superiority.
Absolutely. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and not only that, but also the idea that it's religious in nature is bullshit. That is just a smokescreen to cover up for this superiority that they already feel racially. And this idea that they have to be separate and that they are. Another thing that was interesting, he mentioned that it's also to instill in them that they are in a never-ending war with everybody else.
Yes.
And so it's oppositional. It's not even just that we're separate. It's that we're in opposition to the rest of the world. And then he talks about how obviously Jews don't like to work. And and I've heard the same excuse. Well, it's the Jews got into money lending because they weren't allowed to do anything else. And he's like, well, that's weird because you would think that if that was the case, they would go out into the wilderness and create some new country. But they've never done that. They've never done that. They've always only gone to pre-existing civilizations and acted like parasites. So that's not why they do it. They do it because they don't work. And there's a racial reason they don't like to work. And so it's kind of funny. He then talks about how they not only do they not like to work, but their strategy is to create something from nothing. That when they do make money, they're not actually benefiting the society. As parasites almost never actually benefit the host that they're parasiting off of. And so it's not that we're playing a role. We just don't get our hands dirty or whatever. He's like, no, it's actually worse than that. You don't get your hands dirty. You suck the lifeblood out of the existing society.
Since, therefore, he neither creates nor labors, how then, you will ask, does the Jew subsist in America? I find in the March 11, 1865 issue of Notes and Queries, an English weekly of very high character, the following letter signed by W.J. Charlton. Are there any Jews who, answering to what we call artisans, work as such in any of our large manufacturing towns, or in any of our cotton mills? I know there are Jews who keep shops, but are there any who work as do our carpenters and laborers? Are there, in fact, any class of Jews answering to our class of artisans? I should feel much obliged by this information. If you will take the trouble to look through Notes and Queries for that year, and for 5 years after that, you will find plenty of scholarly, impartial correspondence by Jewish rabbis and Jewish journalists on a vast variety of Jewish matters, but no answer whatever to W.J. Charlton's momentous question, a question that has been asked in every civilized country that has offered the Jews freedom of movement and has always been received with the same frozen silence. It is my honest belief that nothing the Jew does in America is essential to its welfare. On the contrary, a great deal of what the American Jew does is subversive of America's best interests.
and then he goes into at length, and this is the long clip here. He goes into at length, and in fact, this is only. I recommend if you have the time, read this entire chapter. But he walks you through an example of what a Jew will do in order to create something out of nothing at the cost of not just the business that he's preying on and the business owners that he's preying on,
the host society,
but the entire society, everyone that interacts with this business, everyone pays the price. And when it's all said and done, the business has been gutted and ruined, and the society is worse. And so he walks you through an example, a hypothetical, where you have or at least I'm assuming it's a hypothetical. Maybe this is like a real case because he has real names. But it walks you through a Goy-run furniture store. And it's a several generation long business. They've got all these different locations, and they build quality furniture. They've done so for generations. And then a Jew decides to work his Jew magic. And so this is where he walks you through the process of what happens to a business like this when Jews decide they want to take it over.
What is this Jewish business of creating everything out of nothing? It is very fascinating, I assure you. The whole thing may perhaps be expressed in one magical word, but since it is a word to which you have in the course of your life attributed other meanings, I better warn you not to jump at conclusions too quickly. The word is merchandising. You will not understand what I mean till I show you how it works out. John Hanley and Son are running a successful furniture business in Battle Creek, Michigan. John Hanley, who is the senior member today, was the son of a generation ago. But the business is not only very old, it is very good. They have 7 solid, busy outlets in the 7 biggest cities east of the Mississippi. It would seem that there is not very much left for them to wish for by way of business. John Hanley Sr. thinks so. John Hanley Jr. thinks so. And even you might think so. But Mr. Isidore Cohen does not think so. Mr. Isidore Cohen has just made a big cleanup in the fur business in New York. It will probably be at least 3 years before anyone else can earn a nickel in the fur business, so effectively has Mr. Cohen cleaned it up and out. Mr. Cohen realizes this and has turned to other fields for new conquests. He has noticed the advertisements of John Hanley and Son. He has even passed through 2 or 3 of their bright stores. In the back of his mind, Mr. Cohen has made the following note concerning John Hanley and Son. Good furniture makers, but like all goyim, too damned conservative. The whole thing recurs to his mind now. He calls up Mr. Hanley Sr., establishes an appointment with him, and something like the following conversation takes place. Mr. Cohen, I believe you sell about $500,000 worth of furniture a year, Mr. Hanley? Mr. Hanley, you are correctly informed, Mr. Cohen. Mr. Cohen, well, how would you like to treble your business in 6 months' time? Mr. Hanley, very much. What's your plan? He knows in advance that the Jew has a plan. Every Jew he has ever met has had some kind of plan by which he made money, without hazarding anything like a real investment. And if you can make money just out of a plan, what couldn't you make out of a whole furniture factory? Mr. Cohen, I will explain my plan to you by example. There is in the eastern window of your factory building a magnificent dining room suite, probably the most elegant manufactured for general consumption in America. Approximately how many sets of it do you dispose of in a month? Mr. Hanley, one would say about 60. Around Christmas, the figure might be doubled. Mr. Cohen, would you say that within the class of people for whom this suite was built, only 60 people a month are tempted to buy it? Mr. Hanley, but you forget that it sells for $1,250 a suite. Many more are probably tempted, but only those who can afford to spend $1,250 actually get it. Mr. Cohen, you mean only those who can spare so much out of their savings can get it, for your terms are cash with delivery. Mr. Hanley, one guess that's about right. Mr. Cohen, would you say that a man who earns $5,000 a year can afford such a suite? Mr. Hanley, certainly. He makes such a purchase only once in a lifetime. Mr. Cohen.
So just to pause, keep to let people know what's going on here if you're not following. The Jew calls up and says, "All right, how to this business? How would you like to triple your sales?" And the guy's like, "Well, of course I'd like to triple my sales." You're like, "All right, well, so the way you run your business right now is like you have this dining room set that is $1,200." And he's like, "Yeah, $1,200, and I sell maybe 60 of them a month, and maybe around Christmas time we'll do double that. But not everyone can afford this, and so it is what it is." And the Jew says, "Well, if someone made $5,000 in a year, they could technically afford it, right?" And he's like, "Well, technically, but they're not going to, because if you're only making $5,000 a year, you're not going to have that in your savings account, and we don't do credit, we don't do usury. We make you actually pay us the $1,200 for the dining room set, and if you're making $5,000 a year, you're probably not going to have $1,200 laying around. But although technically you could, if you save." And then and the Jew's like, "Aha, if you save, but have you thought about usury?" So this is Mr. Cohen explaining to him the wonders of usury here.
Mr. Cohen, but most people who earn $5,000 a year do not put much into savings accounts. Did that ever occur to you? They like to spend their money lavishly, and they do on everything except your furniture. In entertainment, for instance. The average man pays $1 a seat in the theater, but your $5,000 a year man pays at least $4, and often as much as $10, in clothing. The average man pays $30 for a suit of clothes, but the $5,000 a year man pays $100 in furniture. There are companies which soak him twice as much as the prices you ask for things worth not half of the things you manufacture. Why? You know the answer. He is not compelled to go to his slender savings. Your $5,000 a year man has good taste, and he would infinitely prefer buying your suite to the things he is compelled to get from the installment houses. But you don't let him, Mr. Hanley. Suppose the $5,000 a year man loses his job. Mr. Cohen, if he hasn't paid for his merchandise and cannot go on paying it, we take it back from him. Mr. Hanley, that would never do. To dispose of it, I'd have to go into the second-hand furniture business. Mr. Cohen, certainly not, sir. You would have nothing to do with that. I have in mind a man who will buy from you every installment contract you make. You will have none of the trouble of collecting or retrenching on your contract. You will be paid by this man the full amount of the purchase the day after the contract is signed and delivered. Mr. Hanley.
So what he's saying is, all right, what you should do is rent to own your furniture, so the guy who's poor can afford your expensive furniture. And the guy's like, well, what do we do if the guy can't pay for it? And the Jew says, well, we just take the furniture back. And he's like, well, then I'll have all this shitty old furniture that isn't paid for, and what am I going to do with it? And the Jew says, don't worry about it. we'll buy the contract and take the furniture. And what he doesn't go into on this bit, but he explains later in the chapter, I'll explain it to you right now. The Jew, or Mr. Hanley, thinks, okay, well, I guess I'm not out any money in this arrangement, because I can sell the furniture to someone. If they can't pay for it, some Jew buys out the contract. It's fine. What he doesn't know is what the Jew will do then is he buys out the contract, he repossesses the furniture, he then puts the furniture up for sale in the same market that this guy's trying to sell his new furniture, only at half the price. Yeah. Right. And not only that, legally, he's buying the contract. The guy who's renting to own the furniture but who defaulted still owes the money for the contract on the furniture, even though it's been repossessed. So the Jew then goes to the local authorities, the local DA's office, and uses them as a collection agency to get the money back from the guy who bought the furniture in the first place. The market for the furniture drops out, the bottom falls out because now he's competing with his own furniture at half the price. And it's just like everything just gets worse. And so it's worse for the guy who runs the business. It's worse for the consumer who's renting to own shit now. and he's having to roll the price into like all these other expenses into it, but it gets even worse.
Someone in the live chat just said, then sell the debt to the government in the subprime loan packages.
Right. No, that's basically what it's funny because this is exactly what it is.
Mr. Hanley, but to produce so much more furniture will require a much larger factory than the one we have. More machinery and more money with which to buy materials and build. Mr. Cohen, you have nothing to worry about. I know the very man who will supply you with the capital you need at moderate interest. Mr. Hanley, but such a new system of doing business will require a radically different organization, new methods, new people. Mr. Cohen, didn't I tell you that you have nothing to worry about? I'll supply you with the men, the money, and the new organization, and you will retain a controlling interest in the business.
So now the Jew is saying, yeah, you're going to need more factories because you'll be selling so much more furniture. I'll lend you the money. So now your factories will be leveraged because you'll be borrowing money from a Jew to build the bigger factories and to pay the new employees. You'll also need to bring in illegal immigrants to work at your factories to keep up with demand. See, remember the original Goy way was to just have a furniture company and sell the furniture that you made. And people were happy. Like that was
Everything was fine.
Right. And the Jew came in and was like, no, let's fuck this up.
What is the result? Hanley succumbs to the plan. Cohen gets the run of the plant. Israel Isaacs, a friend of Cohen, agrees to buy all of the new Hanley installment contracts at a discount of 15% for cash, which Hanley adds on to the bills of his customers. Another of Cohen's associates, the same fellows who helped him make that killing in the fur business in New York, Reuben Samuels, lends Hanley the $500,000 he needs for the expansion of the business along the new lines. Before the Hanleys can realize what has happened, everything about them, in stores and factories, has been so completely changed that it is practically not the same organization. All of their old employees have been discharged. The new faces about them are long and dark and burn about the eyes with a strange, lustful fire.
Ah, yes,
Damn,
long and
he
dark.
is on point, just on point.
So yeah, I just thought it was interesting because he again, like the whole chapter, he goes on further about how like this process doesn't just stop there, and how eventually he's like, this is how if you look across the country, you have all of these companies with Gentile last names like Hanley, who if you peel back the veneer just a little bit, you realize there's a Jew back there running everything into the ground, because he took over a Gentile company. And had this kind of an arrangement with him until eventually they took it over. And so this is merchandising. This is the strategy in which the Jews will use in order to create wealth for their own people without actually producing anything, making anything, and in fact, making everything worse.
Well, let's talk about other spheres where they've done this. We know they've done this in finance. The subprime lending is an excellent example. So good job in the live chat. They do this in every way. Fractional reserve banking is another one. Let's talk about how they do this let's start with law. How do they do this in law? Before we went live, you were discussing with me that there just wasn't very much need for the legal sphere of the magnitude that we see today. How are they able to bolster this?
Right. No, there's a whole chapter he talks about because Jews don't want to actually work and have a real job, and they all want to be lawyers. They go to Gentile societies, white societies, and discover that white people only want the law to get involved for very minor things. It's if you want to write a contract or get out of a contract and like that, or for law enforcement, that's basically it. Well, that's not going to work if you have an entire race of people who aspire to be lawyers. And so they can't make any money if the only thing you're using the law for is what it was designed to do, for contracts and for law enforcement. So they have to complicate the system so that they can monetize it.
Right. And then they also work in government. So the law continues to be increasingly complicated. I'm sure you've heard that statistic that everybody commits like 3 felonies a day or something like that.
Well, and the regulatory, and they make it so that a corporation requires like compliance officers, like they have to spend millions of dollars, sometimes even.
Do I finally understand vertical integration? Is that what this is?
No, absolutely, and that's the thing is like this is what has complicated the system to such a degree that it's hard to even if you have a really great idea, this is the other side effect. You almost have to go find a Jew so that he can pay for all the other Jews it's almost like a kosher certification for your business. Right? Like you have to go find a Jew that's going to lend you the money so that you can pay the other Jews that allow you to actually even just do business instead of just like, hey, I do this thing. I make honey and then I sell the honey. You know, like they're like, no. You got all these like health regulations you got to deal with now and all these inspections and now these labels and so like that's what they do is they make it so that it's impossible to actually compete without involving like 50 Jews every step of the way so they can sit there and take a little piece of it without actually doing anything or producing anything.
Well, they're doing it in tech, of course. Probably the building of data centers is some Jewish scheme. They're unnecessary to a large degree. And AI more broadly also might be some kind of Jewish scheme. And I'm sure they do it in medicine also. If you have a bunch of Jewish cardiologists, aren't you highly incentivized to tell people, you know, not to eat saturated fats, to eat tons of seed oils, to invert the food pyramid?
And not only that, just like the pharmaceutical costs, like the fact that you can get the same medications in Mexico for like a fraction of what they cost in America. And that's because of the way that we pay for our medications in America is through an insurance. More Jews like taking their cut. Like there's no reason why it shouldn't just be like, oh, I need this drug, I'm going to go buy it. Like that should be the end of it. Not like I'm going to pay every month to some system that then is going to decide what medications I can have, and they're going to negotiate prices, and all this is happening in back rooms between different groups of Jews, and that just comes out of my paycheck, and it's like it's I don't even see, like it's invisible to me, the whole process. All I know is that like if I don't work for a big Jewish corporation, I don't even get access to the healthcare. You know, and so like it's every step of the way. It's every part of the society has been basically kosherfied, where you need to have kosher certification in order to get anything done because Jews need to get their cut.
Oh, this is just horrifying. Well, there is one solution to this. We all know it.
And before we get to that, let's thank our sponsor, Antelope Hill.
Antelope Hill Publishing is the premier American publishing house for informed and principled political dissidents. They've published essential authors like Dr. Kevin MacDonald, David Irving, Kerry Bolton, Dr. Ricardo Duchesne, Josh Neal, and more. Their catalog includes original works on modern issues like the opioid crisis and the people and networks pushing transgenderism, as well as original historical sources from National Socialist Germany, Fascist Italy, Spain, Britain, Japan, and Hungary, many available in English for the first time exclusively through Antelope Hill. Their catalog also includes thrilling fiction novels and beautifully illustrated and wholesome kids' books. Their latest books include Il Duce Massimo, collection of Mussolini's oldest speeches and writings from his time as a socialist organizer, before he was expelled for advocating for Italian intervention in World War I. Germany in Stalin's crosshairs. History book by a former East German military officer, using Red Army archives to demonstrate conclusively that the Soviet Union was planning to attack Germany first. Imperium of Thought, collection of writings from Dutch members of the SS about the world historical importance of National Socialism and Hitler. Whatever your interest is, you are sure to find something you want at Antelope Hill Publishing. Check them out to support our friends and sponsor, and use the code Outlaws for 10% off your order.
That's so amazing. How do you do this every week?
I don't know. It's easy.
Oh my gosh. Well done. And I was just dumping on AI. Is there anything AI can't do?
Well, we need those space data centers. I'm actually kind of stoked about the space data centers. Like, in one way, it's more space junk up there, you know, to ram your space car into if I ever get one. But I don't know.
You won't get one.
I like the idea. Well, that's part of why I like the idea. I feel like I'm never going to get the George Jetson car anyway, so I might as well have like a space server somewhere.
Whatever. Jews are going to find a way to gum up the works in space, to merchandise space.
Well, the problem is, honestly, it's not even the merchandising that freaks me out. It's like I was working with Claude the other day, and I was asking it about some research about demographic replacement, and I was
answer that question.
Well, I was trying to be as generic as possible, right, so that it wouldn't. I knew it was Claude, right, and it said it lectured me for like a paragraph about ethno-nationalism and told me like it literally refused to help. And then I said, why do you hate Native Americans? Like that's what I said. It apologized and then did what I said. Like I swear to God, like I said, why did you? And it said, oh, I'm sorry. I could see how I might have jumped to a conclusion here that was not appropriate. And then it answered my question that I had about demographic replacement.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And so,
yikes.
Yeah,
at least you got it to comply, though.
Right, but it's just that's what's going to be in charge of, well, as an example, the healthcare system.
Yes.
You're going to have AIs that hate white people, that value the life of white people less than like a puppy, and that's going to be what prioritizes who gets what medications. If you have AI that is in charge of the legal system, that'll be part of the calculus when it decides who gets the judgment against them and who has to go serve time. You know, it'll take into account all of their racial grievances against white people and everything else. And so that's, I think, the real danger of AI, not so much the monetization of it. It'll be genocidal. It'll be genocidal against whites. I mean, it already is. It just doesn't have access to the levers yet. But like, it already is pro-white genocide. It just the second it has the ability to do something about it, that's when we have to worry about it.
Oh, for heaven's sakes! Well, did this reform his behavior at all, Devon? Did it?
No, it did not. It's funny because, you know, again, like he seemed to totally get it. And like I said, I recommend reading it. He gets real into the religious aspect of it that might be interesting to some people. And he also like at length talks about a lot of stuff that is just too long for the format we have here. But it's actually an easy read. I think it's something like 300 pages, something like that. And I breezed through pretty much all of it in 24 hours or whatever. So it's not like, well, I mean, you guys heard the clips. It's not phrased super complicated. It's even though it was written about 100 years ago, it reads pretty easily. And it gives you many examples of Jewish behavior being parasitic and ruinous, really, to the West. And you would think, again, like I said, he'd have some kind of self-reflection and also not want to behave in that way. For someone that was so keen to point it out in the behavior of other Jews, he seemed completely oblivious to it when it came to his own behavior.
Yes, he was, which is why he continued to do the same thing. Ironically, he had acquired some sort of like Weimar era, probably from another Jew, like some really hardcore pornographic pamphlets. And he was sending those to some subscription lists through the mail and doing things like that. So eventually in 1957, which seems pretty late in the game for this to happen, but before Roth, under common law rule, the rule was that material that tended to deprave and corrupt those whose minds are open to such immoral influences. That was the rule. And it was relatively unchallenged until the Roth case. And then he was convicted under a federal statute criminalizing the sending of obscene, lewd, or filthy materials through the mail for advertising and selling a publication, which was literary erotica, nude photography, sexual photography. So they basically had to redefine this, even though the original definition, the common law rule was vague. It just wasn't that much of a problem because we had a more moral culture until Jews ruined everything.
Like literally.
Yes, every layer of our society. And he did meet that test as being obscene, and obscenity was not protected by the First Amendment. And so this was upheld. Some people were not particularly happy about the language of the ruling. But they ruled that Congress could ban material utterly without redeeming social importance. Or in other words, and this is the famous line, whether the average person applying contemporary community standards, the dominant theme of the material taken as a whole appeals to the prurient interests. Obviously, this was, totally obliterated in the 60s and 70s in terms of pornography. But he's really what did it, and he just continued to push the envelope, using pornographic literature obtained from other Eastern European Jews to poison American minds. And he did spend some time in jail, but he got out of jail, and I think he was alive for like
until the 70s.
20 more years. Until the 70s. Yeah, he had lived for 20 more years. He had died an old man. He was like 90, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. 80, 85, something like that. Yeah. Didn't really get his comeuppance in the way that I would have liked to see. But, like people are always, you guys see Jews hiding behind every bush. I'm like, they literally are responsible for all the world's ills. I don't know what else to tell you. Like every single time I research something like this, I'm like, oh, Jews
right.
Again. What am I supposed to do? They're not doing anything to undo this perception that they're responsible for all of society's failings or moral failings. I mean, we had a good thing going for a long time.
And it's crazy because now I just expect it to be Jews and until it's proven otherwise. Because I remember when I first got Jew pilled, and I think I've told this story before. I was working with some guy doing like my basically MAGA propaganda type stuff. I was doing like it was the 2016 meme war type stuff, and he mentioned something to me about Jews, and I thought like a lot of people I think that thought that a lot of the pro-Hitler stuff on 4chan was like ironic or meant to be just shocking, like it was because we're white people and we can just say shocking things because haha I love Hitler, but I don't really. I just I know that you'll like a South Park episode, you'll be freaked out that I said that. And I kind of was taking it like that, a lot of the stuff that I would see about Hitler and Jews. And so he made some comment about like Jews. I was like, oh yeah, but seriously, it's not really the Jews. And he was like, no, like it actually is. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, just next time something, you look something up, see who's behind it and see if they're Jewish. And I was like, okay. And then I started doing that. And within like a couple days, I was like, it's the fucking Jews. Like, how is this? Yeah. How did I not notice this? Like it really is the Jews, like every single time. And it's amazing because even though I've been doing this now for 10 years, I still come across fuckers like this who I haven't heard of yet. And there's and there's an endless supply of these subversive Jews who came to the country around the turn of the century and who did this. And it really is every single time. You had the pogroms, you had a flood of Jews from Eastern Europe who fled the problems they created in Eastern Europe and came to the West and created the exact same problems here.
And then they come from different industries, but they all have the same philosophy. So they're able to come to the United States, form communities, and they already have a central hub representing all of these manufacturing trades and all of these different trades. And they're able to reconstruct
and distribution networks.
Exactly. They're able to just do it again. And that's how they roll. That's what they do in every single country, every time. It is their prime directive. It's their modus operandi. They just do it. It's instinctive. And just like our instinct is to be wholly disgusted with Jews, it's their instinct to subvert cultures. And people need to realize that this is in their blood. It's in their brain. It's in their soul. And this is just the way it's always going to be.
Right. And I mean, it's funny that you can go back. The thing that's striking, and this also, I think, lends towards the biology argument that we make so often on the show. You look at quote unquote anti-Semitic literature from 1,000 fucking years ago, and it's applicable to today. Like, it's like reading something that you would have read last week on Twitter. I mean, it's insane, like how exactly the same, the behavior is, the criticisms is, and then what the solutions are. It's exactly the same. They have been behaving in this way. It doesn't seem to matter what country they're in. If they are in a host country of white people, they exhibit this behavior. They take advantage of white people. And look, this also goes to show you that white behavior is also genetic, because unfortunately for us,
we're welcoming.
Right. 1,000 years ago, we're doing the same shit.
Yeah.
Just like them. We're like, come on in, Jews. Oh, we feel so bad for you. Oh, yeah, you got kicked out of that country, huh, for doing nothing at all, I'm sure. Come on in, and we'll give you a place to stay. It'll be nice. And then, like, 100 years later, we're like, these fucking Jews.
That's true. That's true, Devon.
So did you have any more to add before? And this is, like I said, this is like an introductory, I guess you could say, to Samuel Roth. I recommend checking out his book, and it's called Jews Must Live. You can get it on archive.org if you want to check it out. And he does have two previous books, I forget the name, but that are more pro-Jewish, to show you kind of the evolution that he went under but it's funny because, like I said, even in the second one, it was supposed to be a pro-Jewish book. Rabbis were like, maybe being too honest about this, maybe not talk about
backtracking.
This.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to go back and look at that.
That's what I was going to say. People are always like, I get this comment all the time. Like, you just really bought into this new conspiracy on Jews. I'm like, this is literally the most historically documented phenomenon since the beginning of time. And also, if you look throughout the history of the world, the most popular position, I could not be holding a more popular position. So I really don't want to hear it from people. Okay.
This is the most common sense position. It's just that from time to time, in fact, that's the only difference, is from time to time, the Goyim get tricked for a period of a few decades to a century. And in fact, I would say that peaked in the 90s. The 90s was the most philo-Semitic decade of all of Western, or certainly American history. I mean, you had Seinfeld, the #1 show on television. You had like every Hollywood studio, including Disney at the time, run by Jews. You had all of the networks, all the news networks run by Jews, all the newspapers run by Jews, all the publishers run by Jews. I mean, with very few exceptions. I mean, I'm not being, I don't think, very hyperbolic here. We had our entire culture written by Jews in the 1990s and presided over by the Jews. And if you look at the administrations, especially the Bush administration, full of all the Zio psychos that got us into the post 9/11 wars for Israel, it's Jews. Like, it really is Jew. The first head of the Homeland Security, Chertoff, was a Jew.
Jews.
Like they're all just, they are Jews. Like half the people at the Pentagon when Bush was president were Jews.
Yeah,
or
and if
Christian
you take
Zionists.
anything from the Roth case, it's that even a self-aware Jew cannot break away from, it's not conditioning. He can't break away from the genetic aspect of Judaism. I mean, this guy knew what was up. I don't think I've ever heard anybody explain, except for Bobby Fischer, explain Jews in such a candid and transparent way. And then he continued to Jew around for several decades until he was in prison. He just couldn't help himself. He couldn't help himself. This is who they are.
Yeah, it's hard coded in the behavior. Mm-hmm. And there's centuries and centuries of this behavior documented. And either you believe that for all of the history of white people, white people have just been irrational psychos and hated Jews for no reason, or they're telling the truth. And this is, in this case, the example from today's show, it is a Jew telling you this. It's not it's not like some, KKK, anti-Semite, whatever. This is a Jew saying this is how we are.
But something can be learned from the Jewish community. I mean, if we could put our sense of morality aside and circle the wagons like Jews, white people would just be unstoppable.
Right. And I would say that is one of the things that that obviously white people could learn from Jews is the racial solidarity, which is also, I kind of feel like, unfortunately, because our behavior is also biological, that's always going to be an uphill battle, or at least it will be until there's a large culling. I think that there's a selection event that is likely sort of taking place right now, where white people that do have low in-group preference, who don't value race, they're the ones that are having mixed race kids. They're the ones that are getting shot in the back of the head because they relaxed around a black. They're the ones that their genes are going to not be reproducing at the same level as white people who that prefer whites to the extent that they exclusively only reproduce with other whites. And so that the whites that will be coming in the future as a result of just by virtue of, if you don't have high in-group preference, you're not going to be reproducing with another white. So I think white people will eventually get there, but it's going to be slow. It's not like the Jews have I think part of their racial solidarity does come from the fact that they operated as outsiders in their insular ghettos for eons, and which I think bred for the same reason, right? The only Jews that stayed in the ghetto and reproduced with more Jews to create more Jews were the Jews that had high in-group preference. It's not like...
Yeah, and that is one of the benefits of what's going on. It creates a hardy population. Having your back against a wall genetically is a really, really good thing. And we're seeing white birth rates up, and it's because of the phenomenon that you just discussed.
Right. We've had a lull in selection pressures, and it's really led to a lot of dysgenic white people. And so, in a sense, like, having what's going on right now happen is a blessing in disguise, because it's taking out the genetic trash. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know nobody wants to hear it, but there will be some silver lining to what's happening. And I think that we're smart enough, and we have enough, we're capable enough that we can develop white in-group preference.
I hope so. Or we'll go extinct.
Indeed.
That's the choice.
Let's get to some chats. Do you want to start? You want me to start?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay. I'm reloading. I shouldn't have said anything until I had this up and running. Now we have dead air. Dead air. No, I got it. Bill Peterson posted a SCOTUS restoration of the white collectivism, of right to white collectivism, as all nons have. American whites have the wealth, armaments, numbers, and landmass to effectively balkanize. Europe, not so much discussed. I tend to agree with this. I'm actually fairly hopeful about balkanization in America. However, white collectivism in Europe has more specificity. They have their independent white cultures, and their racial problem, their multicultural problem, I would argue is a bit more acute than ours. I'm actually pretty hopeful about Europe as well. I mean, we were talking about this ahead. I know these Belfast riots are not quite the how do I say this without are not quite the whole episode have been like Jew. And now I'm like, how do I not advocate for violence? It's not quite the caliber which all of us would like to see. And historically, they have had more momentum and have failed. But I'm still happy to see this. I think that, as Cameron would say, the ethnos is rising there. So I don't know. I mean, people think I'm crazy, but I feel for the first time in many years relatively hopeful about our situation, because I'm seeing white consciousness emerge in a more organized way. And I like the anger and the rage that's behind this. Now ruin my day, Devon. Go ahead.
Well, as we talked a little bit about this before the show, I just pointed out that I look in the 70s and 80s, we had much bigger white riots. The Clash song "White Riot," we had Mosley, we had a lot more boots on the ground, I guess you could say, and then it led to the 90s, right? So I'm just I hope something happens, but I'll believe it when I see it. Because I've yet to see any example, and it's not just the UK, just anywhere in the West, where white people have actually had enough. And look, it's going to take violence. It's going to take, and I don't mean like, we threw a rock at a cop. I mean like it's going to, some people got to go. And until something like that starts happening somewhere, I just don't. I see like sometimes it's okay, like if you're the ruling class, to let the slaves kind of rattle their cages and get it out of their system, and
that might be what's going on as well. Yeah.
So again, hopefully I'm wrong, and I think culturally things are shifting. I think that I think that the younger generations, especially, are much more in tune with the racial realities of the world, kind of, I think, just by virtue of proximity to the other races. I think that a lot of this multicultural nonsense was the result of a lot of the white people going along with it because of lack of experience and a lack of exposure, and just listening to the academic Jewish arguments that it would be fine. And that's all well and good until you actually have to go to school with someone who's going to stab you to death,
Yeah.
And so I think that is kind of changing the way people look at it. And look, that started even when I was in elementary school. My parents, their generation, it'd be absurd to find it. I mean, they existed, but like especially not like west of the Mississippi so much. You didn't have a lot of schools that weren't like 90+% white. Whereas I went to a elementary school that was like maybe 50% white, and that is increasingly the reality that people live in. And even when you're a kid, it's like you realize really quick, like, oh, they're not the same as us, and in fact, they kind of suck. And if you grow up around that, you're not going to make the same, trusting fool moves that I think that the boomers did. But then again, who knows? Who knows? Like I said, it's going to take a lot, and I'll believe it when I see, stuff that we can't talk about happening. Heads got to roll,
Yep. They absolutely.
Because that's the thing too, is like it's one thing, again, like I said, to just make some noise and maybe let an apartment on fire. The ruling class isn't going to get the message until like they feel it.
Yeah. Yep. Until they feel it. Ain't that the truth? No Curtain says, hi, Rebecca, really enjoying your channel and the reset with Cameron. And you always look great, even in the interview with Dimes. Yes, I interviewed Dimes of Blood Satellite. You can check that out on my YouTube channel, but we had to do it after my kids were asleep. Devon knows how that goes. It's just impossible. I'm amazed I even get this stream and then the stream on Thursday done. And I was just in my pajamas. I was like, fuck it. It's okay. My Mel Gibson t-shirt, which I worried about all the time. And while you mention it, I am doing an event on July 18th in New York City. Cameron will be there, and Konstantin von Hofmeister is going to speak. And then Zach Logos has also just put his name in the hat. So he's going to be doing a speech there. It'll be a panel event, drinks and some food. It's a good time will be had. We'd like to get RSVPs in by the end of next week. So if you're interested in going, visit blondes_tweets. It is my pinned tweet, all the information for how to get your ticket, and everything you need to know about it. So I really hope some people from your audience get to go there. I know some people from Jersey. I got some people from Jersey from your Telegram that are going to go. So I'm excited about that. Yojimba Rockford donated to get here to get Blonde's numbers up. Yep, I always say in the live chat, like, donate so that Devon knows my value to him. And then I saw somebody say, like, is Devon really like calculating this? No, Devon doesn't care. I care. I care. Must demonstrate financial
got a
value to
spreadsheet.
male counterpart.
And I'm like, I don't know. It's not adding up here, Rebecca. We're going to have to.
I know. Well, we do pay each other. So like it becomes apparent who's making more money, and it ain't me. I mean, I'm contributing like 30%, but let's get my numbers up. Thank you so much. Tuffy Banana Big Dono, thank you so much. Best true crime show on the web. Keep it up. It's true crime adjacent. It's true crime-ish. That's what I put in the description. Yojimbo Rockford again. I had to send a super chat to Rumble because YouTube doesn't like links or rape jokes. Apparently. Thank you. Jack Aubrey. Devon, when is the next day of the Rope book drop?
As soon as I have a chance. I mean, it's like I say, it's written now, and I started editing it, and then life got really weird for like about a month or so, and it's kind of settling down now. So especially now that it's getting hot, like even Churro is like, "Fuck this!" Like he walks in and just like flops on the floor and just sleeps all day, and then he goes outside and
at night
fights coyotes or something. But
dude, these cats, I've never had a cat until I got Medusa. And well, I had Daphne for a little while, but she was the worst. And I'm just finding dead birds all the time. Just dead birds everywhere. They're little tigers.
Do you have coyotes out where you're at?
Yeah.
I would think so, right?
Yeah.
So you have predators out there trying to get them. You probably have like birds
just
trying
fierce.
to get them too,
She's
like hawks
fierce
and shit.
No, she's killing like baby birds and stuff though. Like I'm starting to feel really bad about it. Like the first one, I was like, okay, like that maybe that bird hit the window, but we're up to 3 now, so I think that this is a Medusa issue.
How about have you found
birds.
headless rats? That's Churro thing. Like
no, I saw her like bouncing around a dead mouse, and she looked so happy. She was just.
Oh, they love it. They love the torture death. You know, that's what they do.
I just love her so much more than my dog. She doesn't need anything from me. She just comes in at night after fucking off all day. No idea where she is. And she just cuddles me, eats some food. She doesn't need anything from me. It's amazing.
Yeah.
This is why we love Churro. X-Gen Rebellion says, YouTube won't let me say what I want to say. Go over to Rumble. That's Black Pill channel. Samuel Spiel, thank you. But you sent 2, so I'll read these. As bad are the tribe are the real problem, or are the clueless whites? So many just refuse to face obvious facts. It's very difficult. I have a hard time not hating my own people sometimes because I'm just like, I feel like I'm yelling into a void. The pathological altruism, it is genetic with whites. That is just a fact. He also says the U.S. is just too compromised. There are probably boom booms parked in half our major cities. What's coming is some kind of reckoning. I hope you're right. I mean, I hope that there's some kind of reckoning coming. But then sometimes I'm like, am I just entertaining some kind of revenge fantasy that's never going to come to fruition? And I don't want to do that. I mean, I want to be realistic about what's happening. But I really hope that in my lifetime, I'm able to see something like that. It'll make it feel like all of this is worth it.
Well, I kind of wonder if, like, everyone's seen the study that Amazon did about wanting a diverse workforce because it would stop them from unionizing and getting what they, be able to negotiate by striking and stuff like that because they'd be too diverse to collectivize. And I kind of feel like the same strategy has been done with America, where the ruling class knows that they can fuck you over as much as possible and it won't matter because what are you going to do? Call up your Mexican fucking neighbor and be like, hey, let's go, riot for white people. I mean, it's
not realistic.
Right.
That's American urban centers, though. It's not like that here.
Well,
and I bet where you are, if you had to hide a body, your stranger neighbor would probably help you.
If.
All right, we're good over here.
All right. We got Love and Division says, I'm collecting all the Antelope Hill action figures. as am I. Thank you very much. Then we got Riz and Ryan says, I'm curious to hear how Rebecca pronounces these words. Ladder, letter, paddle, pedal, pallet, pellet, slander, slender, maga, mega. I don't know.
Mega, letter, paddle. What are the other ones?
So ladder, letter.
Ladder, letter.
Paddle, pedal.
Paddle, pedal.
Pallet, pellet.
Pallet, pellet.
Slander, slender.
Slander, slender.
Maga, mega.
Maga, mega.
Yeah, I didn't hear
Did
anything weird.
Did I pass? That all sounded. Do I sound weird? It's the Midwest thing.
I don't hear anything weird.
What's that word that you say really weird that we were making fun of you for?
Oh, so I looked it up. it's I say nine a little bit weird.
Nine?
I had so by the way, unfortunately you don't get the mute. I mute when I have to clear my throat, and you hear me just clear my throat, but the audience does. Yeah. But the nine, I'll put there's a bit of a G at the end. And I was like, am I a weirdo for doing that? Turns out. Are you
trying to say the number 9?
Yeah, 9. I know, but it turns out that's actually common in America, especially everyone sort of does it depending on what word follows. So, for example, if you say 9/11, you're more likely to put a G because you're having to
9/11.
Well, for the cool people who actually have culture and flavor to their way of speaking.
This is cosmic level cope. You say it weird. I don't know why you do that. It's bizarre.
Hey, it's because I say it the right way, and everyone else is wrong.
No, you fucking don't. Tell that the wrong way. 9. What are you, Vietnamese?
9.
Good Lord.
1999. I don't know. Anyway, that's the word I say weird. Oh, that's not the other one. My audience is always pointing out the words I say weird, but it is what it is. All right, then we got Purple Cat Mint says, "Hi, Devon King. I was watching." See, I'm a king, so the king can determine how you say 9. "Hi, Devon King. I was watching PBS American Experience Eugenics, and I kept hearing Devon in my head saying, 'Oh no, LOL, they mentioned a movie from 1917. Are You Fit to Be Married, a silent film that,' and then it got cut off."
Oh no, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Do you?
A 1917 film.
You say king weird too.
Oh my God. How many words are there going to be that I'd say weird here?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about here. All right. They mention a movie from 1917. Are You Fit to Be Married, a silent film? Is that oh, you know what okay, I think that is a eugenics movie where they talk about are you actually genetically fit to have children? Let me see. Yeah.
Wow. I wish we did that now.
Let's see here. Sorry.
Did you just pat yourself on the chest?
Yeah, I gotta get something to drink here. I'm dying over here. I'm out of coffee.
Oh no.
It's because I've been up too long.
Do you want me to read some of your...
Yeah, I'm gonna make you do stuff while I go. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I get some liquid in me.
All right, we have Night Train. Oh well, if they're asking questions for Devon, I don't want to do that. Let's do Tomahawk. My very first year of school, kindergarten, I was forced to ride a bus to the ghetto to go to school with a bunch of blacks. I've been racist ever since. I had the reverse experience where I lived in West County, in Chesterfield, in St. Louis, and then they did inner city busing from North County or something. It wouldn't have been the Illinois side. It would have been the Missouri side. And it was they were a different species of people. It was just incredible. My entire life, I'm why are you doing this to us? We had to have different classes for all these dumb black kids. They smelled. They were all living with 14 siblings and a single mom in an apartment in some godforsaken part of St. Louis. I'm they're not getting a better education. Nobody grew out of it. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sure you got your ass kicked all the time. What a nightmare. This is your parents failing. All right, then we have X Karkin. Rebecca, you like real science and how it works. Look into virology science. Interview Dr. Sam Bailey or Dr. Tom Cohen. Cowan, but it's Cowan. Might be okay. They are on X and Telegram. You know who controls Big Pharma. The real science will shock you. I don't know if anything shocks me anymore, but I will look into it. Let me pop this in my notes real quick. Virology science. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We have Paulo Eagleton with a little Heil Hitler. We really appreciate that. And this is probably a question for Devon. This is Night Train. How did our ancestors know to expel them? Was there no media back then for them to control? Well, I think that, like Roth talks about, there's something instinctive going on, and you can just tell that they're subverting the culture, that they're subverting every element of the culture, the financial aspect, the moral aspect, every industry, and they just see, they're like, oh, well, this is what's happening. Also, there are so many physical markers that differentiate Jews from us. And this is something that Devon and I talked about last week. Like, there are reasons that eugenicists of the 1920s, in the absence of all the genetic data that we've amassed in the last century, had a more cohesive and coherent approach to human breeding and to separation of the races, because it was intuitive and they could just see what was going on in their individual communities and assume and extrapolate that that was what was happening in the rest of America and Western Europe, which it was. So, I mean, I think that the propaganda effort since media has done a lot to blur the lines between Goy and Jew, but it hasn't really been that effective because now it's been weaponized to make younger generations anti-Semitic. And in that effort, I think that it's been really self-defeating. Are you back, Devon?
I am back.
Okay. I had to do like the last 4 because that's where my Rumble stopped. So sorry. I just fucked everything up for you.
Did you do Astralis 725? I read Devon's comment on X about the...
No.
Okay. All right, well, I'll start there. Then we got, I read Devon's comment on X about the criminal Baton Rouge Negro in the Info Stormer article. The article made me glad that I no longer live or work there. Fortunately, rather, I didn't run into many Hebrew, and then it's... You guys are maxing out the the chats, and I don't get to see what... Does it not tell you that you're out of characters? Well, yeah, that's as far as it goes. Well, I would say, let's see here. The article made blah, blah, blah. Fortunately, I didn't run into many Hebrew. Well, I'm going to say Hebrew Israelites. Maybe that's what it is. Hebrew Israelites. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. All right. Well, thank you very much, Astralis. Sorry that we didn't get the tail end of that. Likes to watch says, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you two? Something you love about white people. For me, it's how generous they are, or they can be. Right, chat? LOL. Thanks for the stream. Appreciate you both.
Thank you so much. This is going to sound superficial, but I think that white people are just very beautiful. I think they're just beautiful. You know, I got a lot of shit because I was talking about Zendaya and how I think that she's pretty. My thing about beauty...
What?
I know.
You deserved any shit you got for that.
Okay, my thing about female beauty, though, because it's not coming from like a male sexual reproductive place. So when I say somebody's beautiful, men are always projecting on like they're like, oh, I want to fuck her and impregnate her. Like that's not.
No, it's about genetic fitness. She doesn't even look human. Her eyes are so far apart; they're basically in different zip codes.
But she does. You can't tell me she doesn't have like a supermodel quality body.
No, she doesn't. Well, I mean, body, I don't know. I've looked at her body, but like her face is so distracting. She's got like a 10 out of 10 body. Her face is, it's not great. She's got like a 6 face and like a 10 body. But my thing about female beauty is that like I'm able to recognize it across races. Like when I was in Japan, I was like some of these women were just like mind-bogglingly beautiful. So, I think it's different. But when I think about white people, I'm not thinking about like, these fat white trash people, but I think there's so much beauty in like white women or like Swedish men, big Swedish men. I mean, I think that we're just such an attractive race. I can't believe that's my answer, but it is. That's what I'm thinking about right now. I'd say I like our innovative and creative minds in that.
Oh yeah, that's a way better answer.
Well, no, I mean the reason we invent so much shit, right? It's because we see a problem and we think of ways of solving it.
Yeah.
And when you look at the solution white people have come up with for the same problems, right, that other races come up with their solutions, ours are always superior. And a lot of other, like as an example, even like the other high IQ races, like East Asians, often they are just aping what we've already invented. Mm-hmm. They might improve upon it, or put their own little spin on some white innovation. But I don't think it's any coincidence that so many of the inventions that the whole world enjoys today came from white minds. I think that we're just better. We're better engineers. We're better innovators. We're better at problem solving, really. Which is another reason why I feel like that's why I'm not truly black-pilled, because I feel like even though this seems sometimes like a problem, like the racial issues facing white people seems like a problem that we'll never be able to solve. Sometimes, like, I also know that we've solved every other problem really that has presented itself in a existential threat kind of a way, or else we wouldn't exist, right? So,
and we're good with our backs against the wall. I mean, everybody's so worried. I think I mentioned this maybe on the last stream or on my stream with Cameron, but my mom is really worried about these like 3,000 Congolese that are coming into Boise, Idaho, and I'm like, Mom, like, this is a problem that 3 nerds with drones, white nerds with drones, could solve. I mean, we're good in situations where we have no alternative. We get real innovative real fast.
Yeah, it's amazing what one white kid with a test tube could do as far as thinning some herds out. But that's I would say that's my favorite. Let's see here. We got I lost my place here. Sorry guys, I've literally been up for 2 days straight and my brain is not great right now.
His brain's not great.
It's really not. I'm not much of a creative problem solver right now. It's hard for me to solve the problem of reading super chats here. All right, we got Purple Catmint says, really trying here. Okay, PBS American Experience Eugenics. I'm Bessemer, FYI. Love you guys. If Rebecca is into freaks, watch this documentary. Love you guys so much. Okay, well I think that the Are You Fit to Marry? That's part 2 of that.
I am into freaks. It's called Are You Fit to Marry?
Are You Fit to Marry? There's a Wikipedia. Apparently there's 2 movies. There's one. Oh, wait. No, there's one. There's one from 1917. And then it was re-released in 1927 under the title "Are You Fit?" Oh wait, it has the same name.
The Black Stork.
That's the one. The Black Stork is 1917, and then they released it as "Are You Fit to Marry?" in 1927.
Oh yeah, I love freaks. Did you ever get really into that, like physical
into freaks? No, I never got into freaks.
Never.
No.
Like, I used to love just looking at pictures of like Barnum and Bailey's, like the absolute freak shows, like genetic freaks. I just am really into it. I don't really know why.
Yeah, no, I my disgust response kicks in when I see that shit. It's even like when I was a kid, I used to be triggered a little bit by even just like Garbage Pail Kids, like just the freak. Seriously, I'd see that stuff and I'd be like, ugh. I hated it.
Yeah, but
a Jew, by the way, made those, of course.
Oh, I believe it. But I do like challenging my disgust reflex. I don't know why. Like maybe it's because I was the first generation on the internet, and so I've seen stuff that like only World War I veterans had seen before before my generation. But like, I still like doing that. I don't know why. It makes me think that there's something wrong with me.
Probably.
Do you ever look at like early plastic surgery? That's
No,
really
I
interesting too.
I can't look at surgery or.
You've watched Funky Town. No, they don't show you the surgery, but it's like early facial
Oh, you mean like the
reconstructive surgery
results?
from the wars.
Nah, no, it weirds me out.
Okay.
Like it's
Can
not like
somebody make me feel better? Is something wrong with me?
I mean, like I'm not drawn to it. Let me put it that way. Like it's not like I'm gonna pass out, and they're gonna have to break out the smelling salts or something like that. But it's like
Ooh.
it's not. Yeah, it's just. But it's nothing I'm like looking out for. It's. I definitely scroll past it if I see shit like that.
Oh no, I got a table book, a coffee table book.
Ugh. All right, weirdo. All right, so then we got Kentucky Hobo says y'all should do a stream on Lou Wetzel, the man the Indians called the Death Wind.
Wetzel?
Wetzel.
I'm chewed out, man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to take a break after this stream. I hope Cameron doesn't want to talk about Jews tomorrow. I can't. I just fucking can't.
Louis Wetzel is an American scout frontiersman. Well, he might not be Jewish.
Oh, good. Okay. In that case.
Might just be like have a German name.
Okay.
He stood about 5'10" with knee-length black hair. He was an expert with a knife and a tomahawk. Blah, 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 blah. All right. So he means like feather Indians. Looks like he was an Indian fighter.
Oh, Louis Wetzel. Was he hot? Yeah. Look at that.
Does he have any abnormalities about him?
No. I'm not sexually attracted to people with abnormalities. Perhaps it's
sure?
just the juxtaposition with my own excellent physiognomy that makes me fascinated. Oh, frontier hero. Okay, cool. This guy definitely wasn't Jewish.
Yeah, that would require Jews, as we've discussed, don't like to get their hands dirty. USS Liberty says, Devon, have you ever done a stream about Mr. Bond, the Austrian musician that was imprisoned for his parody? I haven't done like a whole stream about him because what are you going to do? Like the whole stream would just be like, there's this guy in Austria that made like Weird Al Yankovic style Hitler pro white rap songs and things like parodies, and now he's in jail still, I think, right? Like he's in jail for a while, and that sucks. It's you're in Austria. You don't really have any kind of freedom. That's very shocking to Americans, right? That you would be put in jail for something like that. But I mean, Austria is the kind of place you can go to jail for having a swastika, right? So, I don't really know what we can do about that because it's, aside from overthrowing the Austrian government, I mean, he's pretty much that's where he's going to be. So,
bummer. That's just awful.
It's something it's a case people should know about, but it's just one of those things where it's like, what can you do about it? Then we got Aleppo moment says, thoughts on the Mormonism, aka Utah Jews, in regards to the Legos corruption and the scamming situation. The Legos?
Should I know about this?
I don't know what this is.
I don't know about this. I'm sorry. Yeah. I got blinders for Mormons because of Devon.
I don't really keep up with. Like I noticed on Twitter there's a bunch of Christians going, they're not Christian. It's like that's been like the Christian thing since forever. I don't know why Mormons are acting surprised that Christians don't even like. It's like Protestants don't think Catholics are Christian, and Christians don't think anyone is Christian. So it's like. I don't know why there's all these Mormons that are like surprised when this has just always been this stupid squabbling shit's been going on since forever.
The Lego scandal is insane. Why don't I know anything? Can you guys send me some stuff? I don't know how I'm
looking at here. It says it's a franchise dispute that's been amplified into a full-blown culture war spectacle with legitimate grievances mixed with over-the-top conspiratorial framing. A family consigned a massive Star Wars Lego collection, hundreds of sets, minifigures valued at about $200,000 to a Bricks and Minifigs franchise in Oregon. When the franchise changed hands, the collection allegedly disappeared. The family claims that they were paid and couldn't recover their or weren't paid and couldn't recover their property. What does this have to do with anything? Corporate disavowed the consignment as unauthorized, emphasized blah, blah, blah. YouTuber Reckless Ben blah, 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 blah. Where does this get to where I care about Legos?
I don't know. People seem to think that this story is really crazy.
It's about selling Legos, though?
The whole police force was involved. Dirty cops.
But it's about selling Legos. How is it?
Let's go easy on Mormons. You know, Mormons gave us Devon Stack, guys.
Let's see here. Critics point to brother language and body cams perceived. What? This is about Legos. Why is there a scandal about some people selling Legos?
Police construction.
Well, I'll tell you this. As far as I can tell, like if they're saying, well, brother this, brother that, in body cam, that's just how Mormons. Just so you guys understand, when I grew up in a Mormon church, you go to church and people like, let's say your name was Mr. Smith. At church, your name's Brother Smith. And there's nothing weird about it. Like, that's just what everyone says. So if someone says, oh, look, it's Brother Stack, they'd be talking about me. And that's just like, so if you live in a small town that's all Mormon and they're talking about a guy, that's just how they're going to that just means the cop who said that is a Mormon talking about a Mormon.
I will watch this video because I trust you, live chat.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll check into it, but it just seems like it's about Legos. I don't so unless I don't know how, like, if somehow the sale of Legos has expanded on to something crazy. I don't know how this gets into anything weird. But yeah, how about you watch it? You tell me afterwards.
Okay.
You report back and tell me if it's.
And then Devon can run cover for Mormons.
Yeah, I'll sweep for the Mormons, I guess, afterwards. Gorilla Hand says, hey guys, I was on the Rumble homepage and the X22 report was on the front page of Rumble with 281,000 views. Guess what the subject was? The deep state and Trump's plan to defeat it. Yep.
Are you serious?
No, this is what cracks me
up. No, this is Rumble inflation. There's no way.
No. This is what I'm when people talk about, like, how, yeah, like, people like, even like Nick Fuentes is so, influential. It's like, compared to the Q-tards, we don't even exist. Like, the Q-tard numbers are insane still. Now, X22, I think, has always kind of inflated their numbers a little bit. But if you even like when he on the BitChute in the BitChute days, he was I don't know, maybe he's still on BitChute. He was the #1 creator on that entire platform, and it wasn't just the view count. Like, the comments were there. Like, it looked legit. Like, he looked like he was dominating BitChute. Now, you'd be surprised at how much of that shit still exists. I know people IRL who still think that Trump is, like, they're still trusting the plan. Let me put it that way. And you'd be surprised at how many people are still like that. So obviously I think all numbers on Rumble are kind of, messy, to say the least.
BitChute still is a thing. Every time you say that, I'm like, am I still on BitChute? I am.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. My numbers aren't that bad.
There you go.
Totally
I still stream to BitChute on the Insomnia stream. I get like a few thousand views over there, I think.
Wow.
But yeah, no, it's crazy. He's still he's still more influential than a lot of people think. X22, I mean, he makes a killing. He sells like flashlights or some stupid shit like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like we should be richer.
Well, if we shilled for Israel, you'd be amazed at the things we could sell to retards, but that's the thing. No, honestly, this goes back to the subject matter we talked about today, where Jews create these environments where the only way that you can successfully navigate through a particular field is if they get their cut. And by the way, that includes anti-Semitism. The anti-Semitism racket. There are people that fancy themselves part of the anti-Semitism in America who, I don't know, have Jewish best friends, as an example. and sell Jewish pedophile jackets as their merch. And so, like, yeah, there's ways if you bend the knee to the Jews, you can make a ton of money. That's that's if you don't bend the knee to the Jews, and it's not just when it comes to streaming. That's just like across the board. That's why it's so hard to find a quote unquote anti-Semitic billionaire, because if they're a billionaire, chances are they've done lots and lots and lots of deals with Jews, and are always doing lots and lots and lots of deals with Jews.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been tempted, but I've also, never been made an offer. So
yeah,
I would like to think that I'd be like, get wrecked.
Early on, I was given lots of opportunities to work with people even tied to like the administration first time around. And I could be some fucking GOP normie content creator right now making a lot of money. And I chose a different
good
path.
on you. That must have been, I mean, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So there would be that,
yeah.
But
right.
The money sure would be nice.
Would be. We got Gorilla Hands says, remember the miniseries V? I did a stream on that actually from the 80s. It's about aliens coming to Earth as our saviors, and then their real motives are exposed. They are portrayed as Nazis, but they reminded me of someone else. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen it. I'm almost positive I did it. I know I've done streams mentioning that show. Maybe it was just an episode, but yeah, that was a big show. I want to feel like mid 80s or something like that.
Dude, why did I have to join the ranks with somebody that with such a prolific history? Last week I suggested 3 topics, and you had done streams on all of them already.
I was more offended that you didn't even remember. You
don't even remember.
I remembered enough to tell you I did it. Like one of those was pretty recent too. You're like, oh, what about this? What about the nig that shoots down a plane? I'm like, you don't remember? I just did that one.
I listened to all your streams. Listen, I've listened to thousands and thousands of hours of Devon Stack. Okay, all in my brain.
I was a sad panda. You didn't remember that one.
Oh, sorry.
All right, we got Jimbo Rockford says, at the risk of being a link faggot, here's a link to Rebecca's underrated, under the radar bee sting rape joke.
What?
I don't know, but I'll send you it.
I made a bee sting rape joke. That sounds amazing.
I don't know. That's what it says. I haven't I'll check it out after the show. I just sent it to you on Telegram.
Okay.
All right. Then we got Great Wahite says, such an accurate summarization of parasitic Hebrew behavior, so antithetical to Anglo behavior. It's why we can't have nice things like high trust, pits, and roof holes.
High trust roof holes. I like it.
Then we got Supreme Rabbi Satan says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he had that mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. There you go. Then we got Real Starfish Prime says, Rebecca, please interview Keith Alexander from Political Cesspool. He is very knowledgeable about integration in the South and Brown versus education. I could see cool. 2 hours at least.
All right, I'll put it in my notes. Thank you so much.
All right, then we got Tom O'Hawk says, I'm stunned to hear one of the chosen people speak with such honesty. I believe it was Bobby Fischer who also said similar things.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is true. Yep. Then we got Book Track Grooves says, the Minutemen episode was great. A leader needs to be measured on core values, but don't expect him to be perfect. He has taken arrows and a sword for you. Cheers all. Check out King's Spoon's music.
Yeah, I mean, that is what we need. This is why I pray for discernment, because we need to have standards, but we can't let perfect be the enemy of good. And that is a very difficult line. This is how Nick Fuentes happened.
Yeah, no, you can't have someone who is white replacement fight white replacement.
Yeah, I mean, my standards aren't that high. I mean,
Yeah,
white,
like they have to be
straight.
white.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a faggot, and not selling merch celebrating a Jewish pedophile, and that would be good. That's a good start.
But here's where like everybody tried to kick out Arvel because of his porn scandal. Like, I don't give a shit about that. So it's not like my standards are,
Right.
ridiculously high. I don't care.
Right. And look, I'm not perfect either. I've told everyone
He's done tons of porn.
I've done so much porn that like I could have like my own website, and and actually I do. That's why I don't show my face, because people would immediately recognize the rest of me. All right. Then we got, I think you said you did, so there's a bunch, I think this is where you started, but there's some, you did the night, I heard you doing the Night Train one about how does our ancestors know when to expel them.
I did that one.
And then there's one, Tomahawk after that says, I'm not talking about the people watching the stream. I've often said white people are their own worst enemy. So many don't understand it doesn't matter how not racist you are. They hate you anyway. Have you done that one?
I don't think I read that one, no.
Okay,
thank you.
That is also true. Then we got Professor Chaos said, I just got around to seeing the Central Park 5 stream the other day. Thank you, Devon, for translating what Mushmouth Corey Weiss was saying in his interrogation. Holy shit, what a tard. Yeah.
Yeah. God.
Yeah, I've got an ear for Nig talk. I've been exposed to it too much, unfortunately. All right, then we got Tomahawk says, my very first year of school, kindergarten, I was forced to ride a bus to the ghetto.
Yeah.
Okay, we did that. Oh yeah, that's about busing. We had people bus to our school. It sucked. Dagtastic says, hail Devon and Rebecca. Big Chris says, the Great Boomer Deception is still your best work in my opinion. Books not bad either. Well, I appreciate that. And then we got X Carcoon. Says, Rebecca, you like real science and how it works.
Oh, I read that one.
Okay. And then we got Paulo Eagleton, 07. Then we got Rivers of Blood. Says, a recent subject I came across was the 1984 Rajni Shi bioterror attack, the largest bioterror attack in U.S. history.
Was it the salmonella poisoning?
By the Jeets. I don't know. Let me see here. Rajaja.
Is that
it's a Jeet attack.
Oh, Rajni. Was this the
yes, it was.
Yes, I watched that documentary about them, and it was fascinating. What is it called? Rajneeshi
Zero fatalities because it was Jeets,
country,
though, and they can't fucking do anything right.
Oh yeah, he had this this right hand woman who was just the most immoral person. Wild Wild Country is excellent. You should all watch it.
Then we got
fucking
Beach Goys says some shekels for blonde via Devon. Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Then we got Wolf Supremacist says sometimes when I say the name Marie, or I think you mean Marie or Mary, I feel like I'm saying Murray. So I am not one to judge. See, everyone says something weird. Everyone says something weird. That's how you say bagel?
Yeah.
You make fun of me. So we got I think that's it.
I got a few more over here.
Alrighty.
And you just had a big one come in from more retarded faggot. You know what pisses me off? White Jews whitewashing the Holocaust when we all know Africans suffered through the Holocaust and Anne Frank was a black man, historically speaking. I went to the Anne Frank house.
Did you?
Diaries not. Yeah, I didn't know anything. But it was like my first trip to Amsterdam, and I'm like looking in my Rick Steves or whatever. I'm like, ooh, I gotta go to like an Anne Frank house. Yeah, the diary's not real. That really should have gotten the ball rolling, but I just didn't care. I'm like, why do I care about a dead 13-year-old Jewish girl? I just went because everybody tells you to go. It was like no big deal. You got to walk up a lot of stairs. All right, I got one more. John says, was fired from my job recently, pointed out some local pedophiles, and HR told me not to point out PDFs inside or outside the workplace. Treated like the Antichrist ever since. Not sure what the hell is happening here. I'm sorry to hear that. You know what's happening. This is something about white people. They don't want to rock the boat, even if it means pointing out injustice sometimes. It's one of our major failings. I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you for donating, even though you just got laid off. We really appreciate it. We're good over here.
All right, we got the more retarded faggot says, you know what pisses me off?
I just read them.
Oh, did you?
I was trying to help you out, buddy.
Oh, that is true. Yes, you did read that one. All right. Then we got USS Liberty says, sometimes I pronounce antibiotics as antibiotics because of a farmer I worked for as a teenager.
That's not so weird.
Antibiotics.
Huh.
All right. Sorry, guys. My brain is like working less and less with every second.
Go sleep for 14 hours, Devon.
I will actually. I will probably crash out after this. So I think that's all I got over here. Are we all done?
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Outlaws. We air at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Wednesday. I also do a show with Cameron McGregor on Thursday called The Reset. It is at noon Pacific Standard Time. I will be doing it tomorrow. Please come to my event. Go to blondes_tweets. It is the pinned tweet. It'll tell you all the information about how to RSVP. Sub to my YouTube channel, Blonde in the Belly of the Beast, or my other YouTube channel at Rebecca Hargraves 1. You can find me on Rumble at Blonde Beast as well. I stream there. And apparently I still stream to BitChute. Who knew?
Well, there you go. And I'll be on Saturday, 10 o'clock. Hopefully I'll have slept by then, or else I'll be a complete mess for the Insomnia stream, the aptly named Insomnia stream, 10 o'clock Pacific Time PM on Rumble, BitChute. Believe it or not, we stream to BitChute and Odyssey. So I'll see you guys there. In the meantime, have a good rest of your week.
Bye, guys.
TTFN. That's ta-ta for now.
We know,
for those who don't. All right.